Hi, I'm Jonathan M0JSX. Thanks for joining me today. And today we have as close to an exclusive as we could possibly get, as Icom UK have very kindly sent me their pre-production sample of the soon to be released ID-50. This is the ID-50A, so it's an American spec version. Of course, in Europe, we will get the ID-50E. The only difference between the two radios, though, is of course the just frequency coverage on transmit. Otherwise, identical radios. So I've just lined up a few of the radios that I have at my disposal, just to try and give you an idea for size of the ID-50. So on the very left-hand side, we have Yaesu's FT60, which actually, in terms of its body size, is probably the closest to the ID-50. Then, of course, we have the ID-52, the sort of bigger brother to the ID-50. Yaesu's FT5, a little bit squatter, but a little bit wider than the ID-50. And then on the very end there, the Kenwood THF7, which is also branded as the THF6 in America. Same radio, the F6 just had 220 megs on it as well. And that's probably the squattest of them all. But the ID-50, I'd say, in terms of size, is a nice size. Anyway, let's move everything else out of the picture because we don't need any of these other radios for the moment, and let's just focus on the ID-50 and let's sort of briefly walk around the radio. So on the front we see that monochrome display. It's the same kind of screen technology that we saw on the ID-51, which this is of course very much the successor to. And we all thought that the ID-52 was a successor to the 51, and I suppose in many ways it was. But now we've got the ID-50 on the scene, then maybe we have to reevaluate what the successor to the 51 is. Same menu or same button layout as the 52. So if you've got a 52 or if you've used a 52, then that's going to feel very similar in terms of the button layout. Slightly more square design on that sort of D-pad in the middle. Quite similar to the ID-51, let's be honest, but as opposed to the sort of rounded on the 52. But that's by the by. On the left-hand side of the radio, this is exactly the same button placement as the 52. PTT at the top, a small squelch button in there too, the power on-off button, and a micro SD card slot, which currently I haven't put a micro SD card into. On the right-hand side of the radio, we've got the speaker mic connector. Now this is the same 2-pin speaker mic connector that Icom have used for many years now. Certainly if you've got a old speaker mic from an ID-51 or an ID-31, then it's going to work absolutely fine. Of course, you can also get third-party ones like the Heil little headset they do. That will work in this socket as well. And then at the bottom, this is what everyone's been really interested with the ID-50, is that finally we're seeing a USB Type-C. And the standard same barrel connector that Icom have used for many years again for a DC input. Of course, noting that the USB-C connector there can support charging, just as the micro USB connector does on the ID-52, and also data as well. So if you wanted to run this with either the Android or Windows application, you can do so using that USB-C connector. Again, same way you can do with the micro USB connector on the ID-52. Worth noting that this is not a power delivery USB-C socket, so it will only charge at 5 volts. It won't try and draw anything more from the power supply. Just worth noting. On the top we've got the GPS receiver, as we can see. We've got the same sort of stacked volume and channel select knob, same as the ID-52, and the same and rubber duck antenna that Icom have used for many years. It's the FAS270C for those playing along at home. On the back we have the standard battery pack. Now this is the same battery pack or same type battery pack that Icom have supplied for many years. This is a BP272, which I believe is what's going to be shipped with the ID-50 when it launches. This of course will also work with the BP307. In fact, In fact, here is my BP307 from my IC705, and just to prove the point, it will go on there absolutely fine. It does of course make the radio look a bit chunky, but it does fit, and you can still put a belt clip on the back as well. I'm going to take that off though and put the 272 back on. I say, just to confirm, it is a sample unit, just so there's no speculation here. Right, let's turn the radio on, and we see that monochrome display that we've seen from Icom on the 51 all those years ago. And I have to say, it does look very nice. The backlight on it probably doesn't going to show up very well on camera. In fact, it's easier to see when the backlight goes off, but it is that monochrome display. Similar to the ID-51. Now I'm working from memory because I don't have a 51 to hand, but I think it is probably about the same screen size as a 51. And in terms of visibility and ease to see it, I mean, I'm looking at it sort of side on here, and I can easily see what's displayed on the screen, so there's no problems there whatsoever. Menu structure very much resembles the ID-52, so it's nice to see them putting this into this radio, which again is very similar to the IC705 and that series of radios. And in fact, if I just pull in my ID-52, we'll have a look at them side by side, because there is a small difference in terms of the menu. So if I pull up the menu here, we see more on the ID-52, but then of course we do have a much larger screen on the 52 versus the ID-50. So yes, it is a similar layout, but we do see more on the 52 just given its larger real estate, because I think they've actually tried to keep the icons the same size between the two. Just while we are looking at the ID-50 and the ID-52, it is worth just pointing out some of the differences and why ultimately you might want to spend the extra £100 to get the 52. So although the ID-50 does have that USB-C connector, and it's only a micro USB port on the ID-52, in terms of what that connector will do, it's identical. So both will charge over that USB connector, and both will do data transfer over that USB connector. It's just the actual connector itself that's different between the two. The ID-50 also lacks Bluetooth, so if you wanted to have a radio with a Bluetooth functionality in order to use maybe the VS3 headset that Icom sell, then you're going to need to go for the 52 Bluetooth, not in the ID-50. Another difference between the two is that the ID-52 will simultaneously receive two D-Star transmissions on the top and lower VFO, so you could be listening maybe to a hotspot running on one reflector on the top VFO and maybe another repeater down below, and you will hear both conversations simultaneously on D-Star on the 52. On the ID-50 you can put a D-Star channel on top and bottom, but you will only receive D-Star on one of them. You can receive two FM signals simultaneously, but that's another point just worth noting. If I'm completely honest with you, I don't see that being much of a drawback on the 50. I've never found a time where I want to monitor two D-Star transmissions at the same time on my 52, but for completeness, that is the difference. So I put up a YouTube community post saying that I had the ID-50 in my hands and asked for any questions that you wanted me to go through. So John R asked, USB charging? Yes, it does. Can you send pictures and messages without an expensive cable, USB maybe, or Bluetooth? So as we just said, Bluetooth is not available in the ID-50, but yes, you can use the USB connection, same as with the ID-52, but you can use the USB connection to transmit pictures using the dedicated picture app. That will of course only work on Windows or Android. It won't work on iOS, just due to a limitation there. But if you've got an Android or Windows computer, then you can do that with the ID-50. Is it any louder than the ID-51? Yes, it is. The ID-50 has a much louder speaker. So the ID-51, I think, had a 500 milliwatt speaker. This is a 750 milliwatt speaker. the same as the ID-52 and is only beaten currently on the market by Yaesu's FE5, which is a 1 watt speaker. Is everything upgradable? The original 51 wasn't. Time will tell on that one, John, I'm afraid, in terms of what Icom do with firmware. Depends what you mean by upgradable. I mean, obviously it's a sealed unit and you can't go delving inside it particularly easily, but yeah, it will get firmware updates, I'm sure, in the future to add any functionality, as they already have done on the 52. SSB receive? I'm afraid not. It does cover airband in AM, and it covers FM and D-Star on 2 meters and 70 sems. Battery life, I'll have to get back to you on that one. It's only been in my hands for less than a day. So far it seems pretty good. It arrived with not a full charge. I've had it on most of the day and it seems to be holding up okay. But I can't give you any more details than that. I'll have to report back on the battery life and how I find it. Maximum memory card size is 32 gigabytes. I've yet to put a micro SD card in it, but I will do so at some point. Will it make tea? Not very well. And Peter says, will it take a memory file from an ID-51 or will it have new software? It will have new software. Icom haven't yet launched the new software for the ID-50, although they are pretty good at getting that ready for launch. So when this does start hitting the retailers, we will already at that point see the software on the Icom Japan website. It is worth noting though, if you have basically any D-Star radio currently, and you're happy with how you've got it programmed, you can pretty much export everything out of the Icom software as CSV files and import them into a different software package for a different radio. For instance, I have my ID-52 and I also have my IC705, and if I'm updating a repeater list in one and I want to do the same on the other, I will do it in one software, export as CSV in that software. So let's just say I've done it for the 52. I'll export the ID-52 file as CSVs, import it in the IC705 software, and it will absolutely work. And I see no reason why that wouldn't work with the ID-50 software when that launches. And Arthur wanted to see me make a contact with it, so here goes.
0JSX. Yeah, you're coming through very nice. Name is Paul, located County Durham. M0JSX. G0CDX, go ahead.
Yep, G0CDX. This is M0JSX returning. Yeah, okay, Paul, thanks very much. My name is Jonathan. I'm located in South Oxfordshire near the city of Oxford, and just playing with a new radio. It's actually a sample unit of Icom's new handheld, the ID-50. So just seeing how it performs. G0CDX. This is M0JSX.
Okay, Jonathan. Well, it's performing very well. It's got very nice audio. I don't know if you're coming in via a gateway or a repeater or a node, but it's nice and clear. BBC quality. Can't really throw any faults at it there, Jonathan. But yeah, coming through nice from Oxfordshire.
M0JSX, KD6, DWX, sounding good. Not losing any packet or anything. Audio sounds great.
Yep, KD6DWX. This is M0JSX. Yep, thanks very much indeed for the report. My name's Jonathan. I'm located near the city of Oxford, and just trying out the pre-production ID-50, the new handheld coming out from Icom. So just wondered how it sounded through the D-Star network. KD6DWX, M0JSX.
Alrighty, Jonathan. Well, I'll tell you what. It's got great audio. It's sounding good. I was wondering what that was going to be like. It looks identical to my 51A.
So I hope you'll agree that the ID-50 sounds fantastic on both FM and on D-Star. Obviously, I can't quite bring you the same sort of level of detail in terms of its receive audio through the speaker, just sort of being picked up by microphones that I'm hearing to the naked ear. But it does sound very nice. And it does sound identical, it has to say, to the ID-52. So if you have used an ID-52 or maybe you own an ID-52, you're going to get the same sort of received audio performance. And I really think that Icom are onto a winner with the ID-50 as the direct successor to the ID-51. Of course, the ID-51 was very popular as being the dual band D-Star option for many years. And it's nice to see them basically take the essence of what an ID-51 was, mix in some of the elements of the ID-52 and put them into a sort of slightly smaller, slightly cheaper package, which is nice to see. UK dealers are now advertising the ID-50E for £449.95 with a delivery date scheduled for between July and August of this year, so only a couple of months away. If you've got any further questions on the ID-50, please do leave a comment in the comment section below. I will read every single one of them and probably make a Q&A video in terms of answering those questions while I still have the ID-50 here. All that's left for me to say is if you've liked this video, please do click on that thumbs up button. There's another button that seems to work just as well too. And if you haven't already done so, please do click on that subscribe button. It really does help me out. There's another video just coming up over here that the algorithm thinks that you might like next. And until the next time, 73. Bye bye.